Hi, welcome back to Jen's Addiction. I'm so happy you guys came back to join me today. And on this episode, I'm doing something a little fun that I've wanted to do for a long time. And that is to showcase 10 of my husband's all-time favorite albums. I think it's a lot of fun always to kind of sit down and talk about the things that I love, but it's even more fun sometimes to learn about what other people love. And since he and I share this record collection, although he'll say it's mine only, but he's got a few back here too. So I feel like we share it. He's listening to the same music I am in the house all the time. And it's not always the Jen show. Seriously, it's not always the Jen show. I swear. But when he does like to listen to things, we share a ton of the same love of music. But these are 10 that if we're traveling, if he's maybe by himself, or we're here in the house and we just want to kind of shake it up, these are go-to records for him. These are things that he loves. He's loved for decades, if not even more in the last recent few years. He's kind of come full circle in discovering some new things too, and that's super exciting. So I thought it would be a lot of fun to showcase those today and maybe get you guys thinking about music that other people in your lives like as well. Could you pick the top 10 of your husband or wife or spouse, partner, maybe a parent, maybe a child, maybe somebody who's your best and closest friend? Do you know the 10 albums that they would pick? Sometimes just when I think I know, I don't know. But I feel I did pretty good. I kind of like thought about them in my head before he handed them to me. And I think I came pretty good. There might have been one that I didn't think of right off the top. So I thought that was kind of good. I mean, if we had this question on the Newlywed Game, we'd win a prize. So I thought it would be a lot of fun to showcase those today. He did leave me some great notes, so I'm going to be referring to them along the way. And a lot of the songs that we talk about on these albums, I'm also going to showcase over on my Jen's Addiction Spotify playlist. So you may have a chance to kind of, dip in and check some of those out. I'm sure most of you may or may not, just kind of judging from comments that I've received in the past, be familiar with a lot of these albums and songs. If not, I encourage you to do so. Dive in, check them out, and learn something new. And I hope maybe it helps you think about things in a whole new way. If you're new here to Jen's Addiction, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Please hit like and subscribe. It means an awful lot. It really does matter, and it helps small channels kind of grow and broaden our audience. And I really appreciate all the love and support everybody has been giving me. I talk a lot about albums I'm super passionate about, and about monsters, and about comics. And so I try to shake it up and have a lot of fun and see what ways I can meld all of those together. It's been pretty successful. And so I just hope to kind of continue the madness. And I'm so happy that you're all here. And please share my channel if you think there's somebody that might enjoy it as well. So that being said, I'd love to jump right in. And with this very first album, I love this because it is kind of fun to see things that we have discovered together and have kind of grown in our eclectic musical taste. This is what he is considering his favorite album cover of all time. He loves the music, but he really loves this album cover, hands down his favorite, and that is going to be it's 1974's Sparks. So this is just Come On to My House. As many of you have known, I've showcased this album myself. We do have some wonderful original artwork that we commissioned highlighting this art for this album cover. And it's just such a knockout album cover. Every time he looks at it, he's wondering, like, what the heck is going on? He kind of feels like she's a ringleader of some kind. Something weird has happened. Maybe she's like, holy, cannoli, like, what did you just do? And she's like, yeah, that's right, I did it. So, it's just a lot happening. And he feels like every time he looks at it, it's something new, something different. It just kind of stirs his imagination. And of course, This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us is on here. He loves that song. He loves their music, but, and there may be albums he's mentioned that he might like even a little bit musically more, but this one, hands down, is his first pick as one of his top 10 favorites of all time, and in part because of the absolutely killer album cover. I mean, aren't they just great? They do have a lot of attitude, don't they? I really do want to know what's going on. And Sparks is a band that both of us were familiar with. but we really kind of rediscovered together. So it's been a fun journey to grow our collection, and see their music live and discover their music. And I feel like it's kind of been a cool musical connection that we've shared. And so I would definitely pick this album for a lot of the reasons he did, but also because I feel like it is kind of unique for the both of us and how we grew our relationship. So I thought that was super fun. So this next little trio of records, I would say, of course, the many reasons that he will list as to why he loves these records. I feel his enthusiasm for this band, his love of this music, has even grown my interest and love of this band, and that would be the Rolling Stones. And we start with his first favorite, Beggar's Banquet. It was 1968's release. So, as he says, you start with side one is Sympathy for the Devil. And then on side two, it starts with Street Fighting Man. And he said at that point, like, drop the mic and walk away, right? Absolutely phenomenal record. He feels that this album is really to him the start of one of the best 10-year stretches in music history by a band. He feels that everything the Rolling Stones put out from that point on for the next 10 years is just pure perfection. And he just absolutely, cannot think of anything that he doesn't really love about this album too. So it just is really quite a kickoff. And I would have to say, I listened to this album. I always had the best of the Rolling Stones. Familiar with, of course, all the little hits and maybe some misses, because there are a few later on misses. But I do agree, Sympathy for the Devil, Street Fighting Man, two of my absolute favorites. But, it just has, I think I listened to this album in a whole new way because of how much he liked it, and kind of grew to like a couple of others. I think Stray Cat Blues, Parachute Woman are kind of things that I just never had really paid as much attention to, and I really appreciate now in a whole new and better way. And then that leads us to 1969's Let It Bleed, which he calls another absolutely perfect album by the Stones. It's a great cover. I mean, it really is a pretty fantastic cover. I would have to say this might be one of my favorites. Although as a kid growing up, for me, there were other Tattoo You stuck in my mind, but that was really because I was young. I mean, what did I know? It had songs on it that I loved. I got it new, so I always had fond memories. But when I think about Stones music, this particular album probably has a ton of the ones I love the best. You have Let It Bleed, Love in Vain, You Can't Always Get What You Want. I mean, he considers this a no-skip album, and I would have to agree. It has my favorite Stones song on it, though, is Monkey Man. So I really dig that one. So there's the backside of that. The one thing about this particular copy we have, we're looking, I think it's a really, really nice copy. I believe it came with a poster. We do not have the poster. So that would be, the completist in us is always on the lookout for that. The other thing we would love to call out, and maybe somebody knows, we certainly do not, but all those little cake toppers of the band there at the top, we think those are absolutely fantastic. Why they have never marketed those cake toppers, like if they were out there somewhere, he would buy them in like a heartbeat. Like if you know where these are, send an eBay link because we would totally be looking for those. But I think those are super cute, really clever. And why, of all the things you could market that would bring you a little bit of love and a smile to your face as a Rolling Stones fan, I don't know why those are not top of the list. So absolutely fantastic. It is a ton of fun. It confuses me. I mean, there's the album and a time clock and a tire and a pizza, and I don't know. It's just a little bit of everything, and Let It Bleed. So yeah, I love Monkey Man. I think that is a fantastic song. So then it brings us to our next pick. So this would be his fourth pick. And, as he says, what, more Rolling Stones? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. And what he considers to probably be, in his opinion, the greatest album of all time, Exile on Main Street. This is, in his opinion, another great album cover. And it is his number one pick for his number one favorite Stones album. He really feels like it has everything. Gospel, country, blues, rock and roll. I mean, it has every bit of genre and style of music that encapsulates that total wonderful Rolling Stones rock and roll sound, all in one place. So, every track he feels really kind of tells a story and takes him somewhere. He gets a lot of, I think, real audible joy listening to records that do reflect a complete story and aren't, I mean, sometimes, it's turn it up loud and just listen to the beat or the rhythm or whatever. But I think he really pays a lot of attention to those sounds, the qualities of the guitars, the lyrics, like those things, although not that they're not important to me, but I think that is really something that is very, very important to him when he listens to music. And this particular album brings a lot of that home. If you asked him again what the greatest album of all time would be, Exile on Main Street would be his choice. This also, and again, like without question, would be his choice. And also, just as a side note, this is our original copy of this album. This is in 1972, and it does have all the postcards inside. So they're getting kind of fragile. I would pull them out, but I don't think I will right now. But we do have a complete Exile on Main Street. So I kind of feel, I would have to, pat my own back on that one. I worked really, really hard to get him a beautiful copy that had all the bells and whistles. And I think I hit a home run on that one. So he may say otherwise. I think he would agree with me, though. I think he would agree with me. So this next album is a 1984 classic. I would have to say we sort of knew, we always would say like we're of one brain when he texted me one time and asked me, what is a bucket list concert for me? What is something I always wanted to see that I never maybe got to see? And I would always say Prince, and that was also his bucket list concert. So to him, again, this is an absolutely perfect no skip album. He is a huge Prince fan. He had, I think, all the versions you could probably get of this album. He bought it brand new when it came out. He had all the 7-inch singles. He had all the 12-inch singles. He had different variations, anything you could possibly imagine. He owned, long story short, in the early 90s, unfortunately, due to poor choices by neighbors of his, he had a terrible, terrible fire. It absolutely destroyed everything that he owned. He lost it all. And so we've been slowly building his Prince collection back up. And but this is absolutely, probably to him, one of the best. And the other thing we both bonded over, and I love this too, and I have so many memories around this album, but when he asked me what my favorite Prince song was off this album, I think I blew his mind because I said Computer Blue, and that is also his favorite song off of this album. So as he says, Computer Blue is his favorite, fight me on it. Yeah. Although we couldn't fight because we agreed. So, but to us, Computer Blue is the best, and he absolutely loves Prince, and he absolutely loves Purple Rain. So, another fantastic pick. I know I'm saying that I'm biased. I'm biased because I'm a Prince fan too. I mean, I might be biased in other ways, but there you go. So the next one kind of brings us down to our, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're halfway through. This is another band that he kind of rediscovered, I think, during our time together. He had a couple albums early on, and he just really cannot imagine his life without that band, and that would be Roxy Music. So if there is something, it might be his favorite song ever, he has told me. Despite so many other things that we showed musically, he just feels that song in particular is a complete package. So from beginning to end, it takes him on a full journey, and it has like this great start and this dramatic peak, and it ebbs and flows. And so just another absolutely favorite song, but his favorite song probably of all time would come off of this album. And I can't say that I blame him. It is pretty fantastic. Being a Roxy Music fan myself, I really, this is one Roxy Music album. I will have to say though, I have been on the hunt for an original copy that the whites look good, that the album looks good. So this is not a first pressing of this record. I'm on the hunt for that, but maybe that's something we'll get a chance to find. It is. We both do agree, though, that although it is that classic Roxy Music cover, it definitely is much more of the time, and we don't necessarily feel that Pink and Blue Lingerie holds up as quite as provocative and sexy as it did back in the early 70s. And again, maybe we're wrong. I don't know. But I'm kind of glad we agree on that one. So, but yeah, so Roxy Music and their self-titled debut album with If There Is Something as his favorite song. And that brings us to another band that we have been able to kind of enjoy together. I would like to think that I kind of brought this group a little to the front and forefront for him. He feels he really discovered this band kind of later on, and he just had no idea, he said, what he was missing out on. And he cannot imagine not having this album or this band as part of his musical life. And that would be The Damned, and in particular, this album called Anything. He likes the song In Dulce, is that, yes, I'm going to pronounce that so wrong. In Dulce Decorum. I always do that one wrong, probably. And in part because that was the song that he first discovered The Damned through. And it was because they played it on an episode of Miami Vice. And he's a big, big, big Miami Vice fan. And as many of you know, and we've commented before, Miami Vice really had some amazing moments and some amazing, amazing music. And so the fact that they were able to use music by The Damned, and they were so forward thinking enough to use music from all over, but just The Damned being obviously one they chose, and one that I think is great to highlight the span of their choices, was really quite fantastic. So, you know, he really feels that this album too, we talk about this a lot of folks who are fans of The Damned don't particularly like Anything. You know, we both love Captain Sensible. He loves Captain Sensible. Captain Sensible is not on this album, and maybe that's why a lot of fans don't particularly, you know, put it up there as high. But we absolutely love it. And really, we've met quite a few fans of The Damned that when we talk about favorite albums, I don't know that I have met anyone face to face yet anyway who has said that they really do not like this record. I mean, it is different, just like Phantasmagoria was different. I have highlighted this one, I think before when we first found it. This one has the little pop-up feature on the inside, which is super cool. But this is just a great album. And he wanted to mention too that this one has, if he were to buy something more on CD or to seek something out, he plays the CD version in his car, and he said there are so many different remixes of the song Anything that it is crazy. But he said they are so good, and you just don't get those on the album. So, you know, chalk that up to another benefit to having CDs, I guess, is that you get a little bit broader array of possibilities, if you will. But this particular album, again, just an absolute favorite. We could probably find it pulled up in the car any day, even when I'm not in the car with him. So absolutely a favorite of his. And that makes me super happy because I kind of feel like that's something he rediscovered and we rediscovered together. So I like that part of the musical journey. So I think that's super cool. So this next record, I really love this one too. Roger Waters' The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. This is our original 1984 copy. For special reasons, I put a skirt on her because we have the version without the little black bar. So I just made her a skirt. You think a polka dot skirt was good? I kind of think so. Maybe I'll keep that one on there. But as Brandon would say, Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking is his absolute favorite Eric Clapton album of all time. He loves so much. He loves and likes Pink Floyd and David Gilmour and nothing. He said no, not to take anything away from Clapton on his own or with Cream or Derek and the Dominos, any of that stuff. But the fact that he comes on this record and just plays and just sings through his guitar just speaks to him in a way that a lot of other albums don't. He just, I think, really finds this album mesmerizing and hypnotizing, and it just hits just right. And he absolutely adores this record. And I just, if you were to ask him what is his favorite Eric Clapton album, this would be the one that he would always always point out. So I think that's very clever. I do love this copy. We've got the original with the hype sticker, and again, it's but I just, I thought she needed to wear something a little, a little more modesty for TV. So I'm going to show these next two together. One from 1976 and then the other from 1980. His favorite singer, songwriter, musician of all time would be Warren Zevon. And these two albums are going to be his top two albums from this amazing singer and songwriter. So Bad Luck Streak and Dancing School, with his favorite song on here, would probably stand out. Maybe Jeannie Needs a Shooter, which I believe, yes, Joe Walsh also plays guitar on that one. And then the self-titled album, Warren Zevon, where he plays Desperados Under the Eaves. That is one of his absolute favorite songs on this particular album. He likes to think back, like, why a 13-year-old was listening to Warren Zevon. He will never know, except to say that he did happen to discover Warren Zevon from watching The Color of Money. And so he was on the soundtrack for that. And then he ran out and bought that soundtrack, which kind of led him to this particular album. He just thinks he is absolutely one of the best, if not the best, of the best singer-songwriters of all time. And I'd have to agree. He has an absolutely immeasurable talent. And I think the fact that so many other people show up to perform with him on these records speaks super high of him as a person and a singer and a songwriter. I mean, like I mentioned, Joe Walsh alone is on this particular record. But he'll get members of Fleetwood Mac. He has members of the Eagles, REM, Phil Everly, Linda Ronstadt. There's just so many, many great musicians. I mean, Lindsey Buckingham on Desperados Under the Eaves. You get Waddy Wachtel, who's with him all the time, like all his records. He's just constantly a presence and playing with him. And I love the fact, too, on his albums that you can kind of look through here and it will showcase who else has been on there with him, So it just absolutely fantastic. Brandon will never, nor would I, right, ever be able to know exactly what it was like to be in Los Angeles in 1970. But he said he really feels like when he listens to these songs and this music, like Join Me in LA, that he has been there. He's so prolific in how he tells these stories and just that full arc. And that is, again, one of those things that he really loves about music, is to discover music in that way, that it really attracts him to these records. So he said, to another album cover he would love to know more about, like, what the heck is he doing? What is a Bad Luck Streak and Dancing School necessarily? What is happening? How is he in any way, shape, or form related to or knows any of these dancers? Why is there a gun at the dancing school? Like, that is not a really good, probably not a really good look. But just such an unbelievable talent that we definitely have lost way, way too soon. And I think the fact that, we know we're not going to be getting a lot of new albums from Warren Zevon anymore is just such a loss, and so hard to imagine. But he also feels too, he mentioned that he thought Jeannie Needs a Shooter actually could be like a 1970s, or should be a 1970s novelization. Maybe Raylan Givens, it could star in like a TV movie about it, be like an investigator. But he absolutely feels like these are just his all-time favorites. His songs just play out, he said, like a Jim Thompson or a Charles Wilford novel. He just absolutely enjoys Warren Zevon so much. And I do remember early on in our relationship, like, kind of talking about music and artists that we love. And I guess I would say, although I felt like I knew Warren Zevon, I think I've appreciated him a lot more now, and that he is more than just Werewolves of London, right? Like he's so much more than that. And I guess if you're a fan, you know, that's what they, but I believe that's the case with this particular album. I do need to highlight, I think one of he said it's favorite lines in an album of all time. So some of you may remember this one. And I don't have my glasses, so please bear with me as I read. And if California slides into the ocean like the mystics and statistics say it will, I predict this motel will be standing until I pay my bills. But that's just kind of the great way that he writes those lyrics and tells those stories. You know, I would have to also say, I think his love of the Rolling Stones has sort of changed my perspective. Um, I'm not going to say I ever thought the Stones were necessarily just one dimensional, but they were a band that I enjoyed, but not super enjoyed. And I think I had just kind of hit and miss songs that I really loved, but not to the degree and level of which he was a fan. So I've learned to appreciate the Rolling Stones probably in a whole new way. A lot of music that I may not have listened to. Now I think about also in a whole new way. And so I really, really love that. And so maybe I should take this moment to tell him, thank you. Thank you, Brandon, for kind of opening my eyes to music, not just these 10, but a lot of others too, that I had either forgotten about or I didn't know about, or maybe I was a little snobby about and I didn't really understand. And I would like to think that I mutually was able to kind of do the same in return. So it's always just a ton of fun. And, you know, I think a lot of us do these YouTube channel shows because we love to talk about the things that we're passionate about. We love to talk about music. And there's so few people in our lives maybe who share that passion to the degree that we have it. I'm super, super lucky that I have someone in my life, as I've said before, who also shares that passion. And so it's just a ton of fun. And I hope all of you also have someone close to you that you can talk about music or books or movies or whatever it is that you love to have fun doing. I just think that is so amazingly important and so necessary. So I think I will leave it on that note by saying that I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And please make sure and hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys are all spinning some wonderful tunes and that you are discovering 10 albums that maybe are important to someone important to you. Have a good one, everybody.